In this video, I present the Stay Fit While You Sit exercise program and wellness talk for business. And we're going to get going right now. Hi everybody, my name is Dr. Craig Heinsohn and I'm the developer of the Loving Life Pyramid and founder of Loving Life Chiropractic Canada. As I value your time, I've inserted timestamps in the description down below in order for you to get the most out of this material. Watch it once all the way through and skip around the timestamps for refreshers and to visit the detailed info later on. This has the added advantage of tickling the YouTube algorithm, and you help other people see this material and incorporate new action in their life and get to do what they love for longer, all because you shared, liked, and subscribed. So let's get into it. I was working on a building site with my stepdad when I was 14. Now, he was a pretty hard man, and I had about 3 tons of bricks to move across the site and to pile them up in stacks 6 feet apart so that he could start laying the bricks and he wasn't going to stop. But the wheelbarrow I was using was an old one, and we didn't have much money, so he never replaced it. So as I was pushing it, A, it was really hard to push, and B, it was making this awful squeak. So I went up to him and said, "Richard, we need to get a new wheelbarrow. It's beaten up, it squeaks like crazy." And he said to me, "What does it sound like?" I said, "What do you mean, what does it sound like?" He says, "Well, what does the squeak sound like?" I said, "It sounds like squeak, squeak, squeak." He said, "You're fired. Get off of my site." And I said, "What? Why?" He said, "It should sound like this. Squeak, 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 squeak." So guys, as a doctor, I've been exposed to so many amazing health principles, okay? And today we only have 30 minutes. I want to share with you the most important ones, the ones that I live, the ones that my wife lives, my kids live, okay? That to me is the most important ones. So not only is it going to enable you to function better, it's going to enable you to think clearly, it's going to help you avoid issues further down the line, interventions in the future. Now, I've done many workshops before, and I noticed that the people that get the most out of these trainings are the ones who engage with me. Does that make sense? So if you've got a person A, everyone raise your, in my case, it's my right hand. Everyone raise your right hand. If you've got person A, okay, they talk about going to the gym, they plan going to the gym, they intend to go to the gym, and you've got person B. He just gets out of bed, starts doing sit-ups, press-ups, and eventually ends up getting to the gym when he can afford it. Who's going to get the best results, A or B? Who do you think? So person B, yeah? Person B. Now, can you all give me a two-handed wave? Even if you can't see me, I can't see you guys, and this is crazy. I've never done a presentation when I can't see anybody. But if you give me a two-handed wave. Now, I know you guys are all probably in an office on your own. Actually, some of you are on site. But if you're in an office on your own, probably like me, you feel a little bit kind of weird about talking to a camera or reacting with a camera. But if you could all give me a two-handed wave, please. That's excellent. Builds the energy, and I can feel it at this side. So it's the people that participate. So if we participate and we engage, you're going to get much, much more out of this presentation. The other thing, now, just with a show of hands, has anyone here heard some great information before? They perhaps went to a workshop, went to a course, they had some great information. They thought, right, that's it. I'm going to make a change. I'm going to make a massive change. And then a week later, 2 weeks later, the momentum had completely gone. Anyone like that? Excellent, good. So now, would it be okay if at the end of this presentation here, I give you some tools that will help you and stop you slipping, so that if there's some good things that resonate with you, you can pick up the ball and run with them? Would that be a good thing? What do you think, guys? Is that a good thing? Beautiful. Thanks. Now, when Jordan started telling me he worked in construction, I thought it was half a dozen construction guys building houses. And then I found out the scale of the projects, and I thought, oh my God, we have so much in common. I shop at Giant Tiger and you build Giant Tiger stuff. I shop at Canadian Tire and you build Canadian Tire stuff. In fact, the Canadian Tire around the corner from where I live is the massive one that you guys are building. And then I got to know Jordan a little bit more, found out what a beautiful person he is. So thoughtful, he's so giving, he's always keen to help. And I managed to capture the moment he offered me the chance to speak to you guys. So I have so much in common with Lundy Construction. And then I found out about your CEO, Sean, when I was researching him. Wow, he's impressive and strangely similar to me. So Sean has great leadership skills, and I have skills too. Sean is considered to be an excellent communicator, and I can talk too. And in 1993, I became an honorary Newfie. And in 2018, so did Sean. Right, okay, so let's go on to Loving Life Chiropractic. This is my business. We set up in 6 years ago in Westborough. And our why? Well, what drives me? Like Sean, like you guys, there's different things that drive us. And when you start to hook onto that, things get really, really powerful. And this is what I hooked onto about 12 years ago, actually. I found this for the first time in the history of man, and this is the Center for Disease Control in 2009. For the first time in the history of man, children born after the year 2000 are not expected to live as long as their parents. So with a show of hands, who is not happy with that? Okay, because I don't know about you, I am not happy with that. I have 2 children, both of them born after the year 2000. Well, the good news is it does not have to be that way. Okay, even despite the latest health scare with obviously more sedentary living and all sorts of issues from that. So this is my why. It's working with families, okay? In particular, helping you and your family do what you love for longer, okay? So the family top left, the 2 little girls and the lady, that is my family. That's Dr. Mary Claude, she's my wife. And then the 2 girls are actually 18 and 15. They've actually been under care for 18 and 15 years. For most of their life, they've had absolutely no medication at all. When they fell off of swings or off of bikes, we adjusted them. There's some other things that we do as well, but we'll talk about that another time. Now, Rhys is the young man with a skeleton around his shoulder. He had the same problem that the first chiropractic patient had, okay? So I want you to type in the chat what you think that is, and the person closest to us, closest to it, will win that fabulous Loving Life Chiropractic Spinal Health Bag, okay?
So, Dr. Craig, we've got 4 answers on scoliosis right now.
Okay. Well, we'll just keep them coming. Okay. Well, actually, I want to get on with it. So, any more guesses? Fire them in there. Okay. We'll see if someone's going to win the bag before the end. Anyway. Okay. So the problem that he had, this very first chiropractic patient had back in 1895. So he was actually deaf. He'd been deaf since this young man was deaf, but also the first chiropractic patient. So if we talk about the first chiropractic patient, 1895, he was a janitor. He was working stooped in under a sink. He had something go in his ears. He had a buzzing in his ears. 17 years later, he was explaining this to D.D. Palmer, who was the first chiropractor. At the time, he was a healer. He wasn't a chiropractor because there was none. He explained what had happened, and Palmer said, well, if something went in your neck and your hearing went, maybe if I correct that, maybe the hearing will come back. And he must have been a good salesman, because he convinced this guy to let him make some chiropractic adjustments, and they'd never been done before. So he was a doubly good salesman. And on the 3rd attempt, the guy's hearing came back. So Palmer sent a flyer around town saying, I found the cure for deafness. And he had dozens of people come into his office, and he adjusted them, but not one other person's hearing came back. But what happened is someone that had really serious heart problems, they got less and less and less. Someone that had serious digestion issues, they got less and less and less. And he said to himself, well, I may not have found the cure for deafness, but I've definitely found something. And that was how chiropractic started. And in our office, we know that story's true because we've had 3 people's hearing come back. Rhys was one. He was 4 years old. His grandfather heard that story that I just told you, and he said, can it help my grandson? And I told him the only honest thing that I could, and that was, I don't know, we'll have to try it and see. And he came in on the 3rd visit. He turned around to his mum and said, what's all that noise? Why is the TV on so loud? And why is my sister shouting at me? So as a person that's witnessed this, I then went on later to become a chiropractor, as you heard. And so for me, this stuff is incredible. I'm a witness to the power of the body to heal and repair itself when it's free from interference. One of the biggest problems is interference, which I'm going to talk about in a second. Okay, guys, with a show of hands, has anyone been under any stress recently? Like, say, the last 2 years? Show of hands? Is everyone waving, Jordan? If you're not waving, you should be. Okay, you're a good liar. Okay, so stress. Now, in chiropractic, we understand that stress is physical, chemical, and emotional. And usually the body adapts to the stress because your body is a miracle. But the trouble is when the stress exceeds the body's ability to adapt. Now the nerve system is under stress and it's no longer able to adapt. The nerve system is trying to adapt. It has an interference. It's no longer able to make send the controlling signals it's meant to. So in other words, the nerve system's under pressure, so the muscle system's under pressure. And if the muscle system's under pressure, there's nothing in your structure moves unless a muscle pulls. So over a period of time, you have more structural imbalance. And you guys know, if the structure of something is out, then the function starts to change, often radically. And if the structure of the spine's out in particular, the spine, I don't know if you ever thought about it, but it's actually an armored tube. It's basically an armored junction box. It's like a junction box in your basement, but it's super armored. It's surrounded by bone. Okay, and if that's out of balance over a period of time, you have this cycle goes on, and it's a downward spiral, and health goes down. Does that make sense, everyone? Yeah, you got that? Okay, and then this is actually a picture of the junction box. Okay, so what that's showing is you've got the brain extends down into the spine, and at every level nerves come out and they go to different areas of the body. So why is this relevant to chiropractic? Well, if you have a problem in your neck, what you're worried about is the fact that you've got pain. What I'm worried about as the chiropractor is the fact that those nerves go into the brain. They also go down into the arms, the shoulders, the hands. So people with carpal tunnel they often get an operation on their wrist. They don't realize that 9 of the 14 places the nerve that causes the pain of carpal tunnel could get trapped is in the neck. So 9 out of 14 times, someone with carpal tunnel doesn't have a wrist problem, they have a neck problem. Okay? The blood supply to the brain, the top bone of the spine is different than all the rest. The majority of the bones look like this. They're like block shaped and they have these little tails that the muscles attach to so it can get pulled around. The back of the skull here, this is where the brain is, and the brain extends down into the body through this hole. Okay, the first bone is actually shaped like a ring. I don't know how well you guys can see that, it's kind of obscured, but it's a ring and it sits on that pivot. So if there's been whiplash or some sort of trauma, I mean, we're talking physical, but it could be emotional as well. And the relationship between this bone and the second bone, the back of the brain and the first bone changes, then this can put pressure on the brain stem as it comes into the body. Now, what does that mean? That means excruciating headaches, and that means migraines. There are lots of other things, but that's the things that most people can relate to. A good way to check, and you guys can all do this now, okay? So just stand nice and relaxed or sit nice and relaxed. I'm currently stood up. I do all my presentations stood up. I do most of my work stood up if I can, because it's much healthier for the spine. But if you do this, so you're looking ahead, turn your head as far as you can to the right over your shoulder. And I want you to look down at the shoulder. So see what part of the shoulder you can see. Turn your head all the way to the left and look down to the shoulder. Now we should be able to move between 80 and 90 degrees, okay? If you can only get here, even if you're free of pain, you have a major loss of function. So that means there's a lot of information that's not going to the brain that should be going to the brain. Also, if there's a let's call it a misalignment. If there's a misalignment between the first bone in the spine and the back of the skull and the second bone, in my experience, children get things like night terrors. They get terrible nightmares. Also, I've noticed that when we have autistic children or children with learning difficulties come to see us, they often don't like to be touched at the back of the head or the neck. So it can cause all sorts of issues in that respect. So if you guys, when you were turning your head, if you could only get to 45 degrees, then I'd highly recommend seeing a chiropractor, even if it isn't me. You just need to see someone because you've got a major loss of function there. And I gladly recommend you to someone if you're out of area, for sure. Okay, guys. Right. Who here has thought recently, well, I seem to be sitting way too much? Anyone? And probably your kids are sitting way too much as well, especially if they've been sat at home and now they're sat at school. Well, the experts agree with you. We do sit way too much. And actually, they say that sitting is now the new smoking, because sitting is incredibly bad for your health. So how much do we sit? Okay, well, they estimate that we have 13 hours sitting a day plus 8 hours of sleeping. So that's 21 hours sedentary. We're not moving. Now, you guys have probably heard movement is life, or use it or you lose it. That's very true with the human body. If we don't use it as it's designed to be used, well, guess what? It starts shutting down. Now, this is the big list. You guys, I know, can read as well as me, but I'm going to go through it because it might surprise you. Sitting can hurt your health. You die earlier. You get early dementia. It's hard to counter with exercise. Yeah. So you need to do, for every 8 hours sitting, you need to do at least an hour's exercise. And even sometimes that can't counter it. So it can lead to deep vein thrombosis, which is varicose veins, but on a big scale in the leg. And that can cause serious health problems when you're flying. Weight gain and anxiety, okay? As I mentioned, move it or lose it can lead to osteoporosis. Actually, it can also lead to cancer increases. I don't know if you realize, but your immune system works best when you're oxygenated, and so when you're moving, okay? And in fact, cancer cells thrive in oxygen and sugar-rich environments. So anything you can, in oxygen poor and sugar-rich environments. So anything you can do to raise the oxygen levels, reduce the sugar levels, is going to increase your immunity. It wrecks your spine and back, and most importantly, it reduces all function and all healing in the human body. Okay? Right. Now, I'm going to have to trust you guys on this. We're going to do what we call the tummy time exercises. Now, what this is if you had never had dental hygiene in your life, okay, and someone discovered that by brushing their teeth, their teeth would last a lot longer, okay? If you've never done anything, this is the thing that is like brushing your teeth. When you come to the chiropractor, it's like getting your teeth scraped. You feel great. Your mouth feels like it's never felt for ages, or your spine feels like it's never felt for ages. And then in between that, people do tummy time exercises, okay? Jordan's an expert on this. So Jordan, I can't see anybody, so you're going to have to check their form for me, okay?
Copy
right.
that.
Okay, so what we're going to do is, so just find yourself a space. It's best if you're stood up, and ideally you can swing an arm, okay? So if you stand up, I don't have to be able to see you, or Jordan doesn't have to be able to see you, but as long as you can still see me. See me okay, Jordan?
Yes, sir.
Okay, beautiful. So, right, what it is as a baby, you're led on the floor between 10 and 18 months, pushes up from the floor, looks and turns around because they're curious. And what that does, that's the period that the second curve in the spine that gives your neck all the motion and keeps your head over your shoulders, over your hips. That's when this curve forms, when baby's on tummy looking up over the shoulders. Now, you'll remember as a kid, you used to play a lot or throw balls, and maybe you do it now. I hope you still do it now, okay? It's super important that you've probably heard the adage that we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. Well, scientifically, if you stop doing this motion, it's called a coronal motion. We then start doing this motion, like on the computer all day long or driving the car all day long, we're just stuck there, there's none of this going on, then we start to lose this curve really badly. So a little bit like taking a supplement, tummy time stretches are a supplement for movement. You need to do it 12 times a day, but it just takes 16 seconds. So if everyone's standing nice and comfortably, so bring your arm up, track your thumb, follow your thumb, and you're not just turning your head, you're turning your head and lifting your head, okay? You track your thumb and then bring it back. And then we're going to hold that for 4 seconds, and then the other side. Track the thumb, bring it back. So I'd highly recommend doing this in between computer sessions. So every hour you stop and you do this. And I'm going to show you a variation on that theme. So that's the full one. That's the best one you can do. And what you're doing is you're reminding the brain how these muscles are supposed to move. So there's actually 2 neurological areas in the brain that light up when you bring the thumb in as well as turn the head. Now, if you're in a situation you can't actually bring the thumb in, perhaps you're embarrassed, perhaps there's people around, you can just turn your head up and over. But it's not just rotation, it's rotation and looking up. And if you imagine yourself on the floor as you're doing that, you're going to get a much better motion. Okay? Now, you can do these things everywhere. I personally do them when I'm brushing my teeth or in the shower. I take the dog out for a walk. So when the dog's doing their business, I'm doing my stretches. You know, you do it at a red light, obviously not when the car's moving, but at a red light. Don't get your phone out. At the red light, do your tummy time exercises. It's much healthier. You're going to live a lot longer. Okay, so that's the tummy time stretches. That's to take some stress off of just sitting in this position all day long. Okay, makes sense? Give me 2 hands if it makes sense. Give me 2 hands. Cool banana. Right. Now here's the other thing. If sitting is the new smoking, screens are the new crack. So who's realizes that screens are like getting a like, getting a subscribe, getting a message produces as much endorphin as winning whilst gambling. Okay, who realizes that? Show of hands. So it's as addictive as gambling, and yet what is the age limit for using a mobile phone? Yeah, so all our kids are on them at any age, whereas it's 19 years old to gamble. Okay, and look at the positions these kids are in. Yeah, look at where their heads are. That's completely opposite to how it should be. We should be out moving around, hunting and gathering, or that's how our bodies have been designed over 350,000 years. But over the last 200 years, with the Industrial Revolution, we're in this sagittal position instead of using coronal, hunting and just searching for things. Okay, makes sense? And it's starting earlier. So this makes me want to cry when I see this. So this baby should be led on its tummy, looking up, doing tummy time as it's designed to do, growing that second curve. The first curve forms in utero, and then the second curve forms as baby's looking up. And the third curve in the spine forms when they stand up. Okay, so this is all sorts of bad. They're in a walker, they're not designed to be, they're looking at the screen, and it's just all sorts of bad. Okay, and this is what I predict our young people are going to look like. The 21st century 45-year-olds. Take away their walking stick, okay? If you saw someone looking like that, what would you think? Sick or healthy? All right? How is their breathing? Are they having big lungfuls of air? Are they breathing well, or are they poorly oxygenated? So if they're poorly oxygenated, they're becoming a breeding ground for cancer and poor immunity. Yeah, so what we want is them stood up, okay? And this is where we come in at Loving Life Chiropractic. We have a strategy. It's called the Loving Life Pyramid. There are 3 levels to our strategy. The first level is adjustments in rhythm. Okay, I'm going to show you an adjustment shortly, or I'm going to show you the effects of an adjustment shortly. I'm actually going to send you a link so you guys can see an adjustment. There's a lot of misinformation. And if you watch YouTube, there's always big cracking videos because they get lots of views. That is not chiropractic. Chiropractic is finding the problem, correcting it by hand, and then checking afterwards to make sure the problem's gone. Okay, so the first level is the adjustments in rhythm, removing interference, restoring function to the body. The second level, spinal hygiene exercises. You guys just did some. Now, if your spine's all locked up, that can be really painful while you were doing that. So I apologize. Obviously, you need to keep it within your limits. But the spinal hygiene exercises, I don't do those for probably a month after people start care, because they need to have their spine in good condition adjustment-wise. And then the third level we finally get to, because chiropractic care isn't done by me, it's an us event, it's a people event. Okay, sorry, what I'm trying to say, it's done with you. Okay, I don't do it for you. The adjustments I do, but the spinal hygiene exercises, the 4 pillars of health, all your responsibility. What I do is I do 4 workshops every 2 months. I do a workshop every 2 months. There are 4 different ones: loving food, loving thought, loving rest, and loving movement. What they do is they raise your health levels. If your health levels are higher when you're stressed, when you've got trouble at work, when you've got relationship issues, the body can adapt to it much better. Okay. If it adapts to it better, then you don't get the nerve interferences, what I call a subluxation. You don't get a subluxation. And then, in other words, your body's healing and function as it should do, although you've been under a lot of stress. Okay, and that's what I want for people. So this is what a chiropractic adjustment looks like. This is Jordan before a chiropractic adjustment. And this is Jordan after a chiropractic adjustment. Anyone see the difference? Like that one? Okay, guys. So how do we detect and correct spinal imbalance? So in our office, the first thing we do is we do a full history. We go through your health challenges, what you feel are your biggest concerns. We're going to take some nerve system scans. The top left, as you look at it, that is a nerve scan. It's looking at heat patterns on the spine. If there are hot spots, it gives us clues that there's there's nerve system interference. At the bottom there, we do range of motion reports. So what you were doing, we actually measure so we can see how you are now. We have a baseline. And then 12 visits later, we're going to measure again. We're going to see the changes. We got normal, and then we do x-rays. And we've actually got we've actually just installed the very latest x-ray equipment. That's why I've got all these fancy x-rays of Jordan here. And then we do posture checks. Now, actually, let me go back. Jordan, can you just give us a couple of minutes of your experience in the office? You did say you were going to do it earlier, but is now a good time?
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Yeah, we're probably about 7 months. I came into you, and I could tell you right now, driving was my worst enemy. I couldn't move my neck. It was sitting in front of the screen was new. It was starting to become a bit of an issue. The driving was all of a sudden a real bad issue. My movement with the tummy times was very limited. And it's safe to say that exercise itself was one of the biggest saviors. It strengthened the muscles now into the back of the neck, where I think Dr. Craig, last time we did the measurement test on myself, like it's increased like another 18%, right? Or something, if I'm not mistaken. And usually I think you'd mentioned 5 to 10 is usually the common. So I can safely say I was skeptical about the whole scenario. Yeah. And this is why I have you on here now, is because I am starting to fully believe into it. And I can tell you firsthand the change that it has done into my neck.
Okay, so this is what we do. This is what Jordan did when he first came in. We did the x-rays and all the good stuff. And it gives us a baseline of where everyone is. And then we want to measure. I don't want you just to think, oh, yeah, Dr. Craig says it's better, so it's better. That's rubbish. You need to be able to see the value and actually experience the value. Most people do. I'd say most people experience the value. Some people take a little longer to get results, so it's good for them to see this stuff so they can see the objective improvements. Because pain is often the first thing to disappear, but the last thing to show up when there's a problem. So in other words, there's a lot of damage, then the pain shows up. And then when we start working with them, the pain goes away, but there's still a lot of damage, okay? So this just helps kind of measure the damage when they can't actually see it or they can't actually feel it. So I trust you're enjoying my Stay Fit While You Sit exercise program on Wellness Talk for Business. And I ask that you smack the like thumb down below, hit the subscribe button to be alerted every time I upload a new video. And as you are almost at the end, I have a gift for you. Details in the moment. If you're in the Ottawa area and you'd like me to speak with your corporation or community group with our Stay Fit While You Sit exercise program on Wellness Talk for Business, then click on the title, go into the description and follow the links there. Enjoy the rest of the show. And if you would like your very own Stay Fit While You Sit toolbox, there it is right up there. That's your Stay Fit While You Sit toolbox link. So if you check that out, we've got notes, we've got screenshots for you, we've got links to all the exercise. Enjoy. Okay. I've got some stuff on healthy sitting, and I'll keep it super quick. Squatting. We are designed to squat rather than sit because the muscles are still being worked when we squat. I'm not going to do it now because you think I'm just showing off, but I can squat, you know, like these guys here, which I'm 52. There's many of my staff that are half my age. They can't do that. And in fact, I've never had a staff member yet that could do that. And it's just because I've been active and moving. Don't want to lose it. So it's very, very doable. Now, in society, it's socially unacceptable probably to squat in the workplace. I hope it will be one day. I hope you guys have a meeting around a table and the table's really low and you're all squatting. But things you can do, you've heard of sit-stand desks. This is a desktopper. I'm talking to you from my desktopper. I had a $400 desk. I didn't want to buy another desk, but you get a $100, $120 disc topper from Prime Cables. I'm going to send you details of it. Maybe not at work, but definitely at home or for your kids. Highly recommend it. There's this thing, which is a wobble cushion, and you basically put that on your seat. Now, that's not as good as squatting, but what it does do, it keeps your muscles somewhat firing. And then the ball there, the ball seat, I've got one of those in the office as well, that keeps your muscles firing. So staying healthy while you're sat, moving is key. I move every hour, proper stretches and moving. And if you're trying to basically supplement the motion, then these items are key. And I'd also say a sit-stand desk is incredible. One thing not to forget with your sit-stand desk, just standing and not moving is not it, okay? This is the best that I can do here, and that's just a foam mat, but obviously your feet are moving up and down. There's some people I've seen, and I love it, they've got like a walking machine, a treadmaster that they walk on while they're on the desk. That's awesome. But that's the ultimate. Obviously, not everyone can get that, but if you can, that's great. And I know you guys work hard, and Lundy works hard, so I'll leave that with you. Far and away, the best prize that life offers is the chance to work hard at work worth doing. Thank you very much. Look at all these smiling faces. That was the hardest presentation ever, and you're not even a bad crowd.
Just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time, Dr. Craig, to be with us and to give us some idea of things we can do right now to improve mobility. And thanks for the offer to come to your office too.